Okay, we're going to take Tux to the next level by using gradients. And a gradient is when we blend one color into another color by going gradually from that one first color to the second color. And I'll show you what I mean with this gray square. If I click on, green square. If I click on the square, and go to fill, right now it has a flat color, which means it's the same color all the way throughout the square. If I click on linear gradient, we see that now we have two colors. What we have is we have on one side dark green, and on the other side we have that checkerboard, which is light gray and dark gray, which I told you means transparent, which means see-through. So what we're seeing is the actual white background coming through. So we have green on one side, transparent on the other. If I take this gradient tool, I can actually change where the gradient is. So if I want the dark green up top and the transparent at the bottom, that's easy. And by moving this handle down, I can change how much transparent I have versus how much green I have. I could change that gradient by clicking on the gradient and going to edit. And the gradients are called stops. I have one stop that's dark green, and I have one stop that's the transparent to the green. I'm going to go to that one right there that has the transparent. I'm going to click on blue, and I'm going to take that slider at the bottom and go from transparent to not so transparent. Close it out, and now you'll see I'm going from a green to a blue. And I can change which one's which with the handles. A color gradient is when we go from one color to another color by blending gradually from the first to the second. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to click on Tux's small stomach, and I'm going to go up here. Right now he's got a flat color as his stomach, which means it's the same color throughout the entire shape. It's all the same gray color. The option next to it is called linear gradient, and I'm going to click on that. And already we can see that something has changed. I also need to go down here to the gradient tool and click that. And I get these two little handles. One side is lighter, one side is darker. I'm going to drag the lighter side to the top of his stomach and drag the other side down to the bottom. And as I move the handle, you should be able to see how it affects the color. And if I play with the handles a little bit, I start to have more of a blending from the light gray to the bottom of a dark gray. And it is a very subtle difference, but if I do this routinely for all my shapes, it gives the character a lot more realism. So let's start off with his stomach. Let's do his face now. And now that we're ready for the gradients, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change his eye color to a very light gray. Same with this. I do that because I'm going to draw a new shape, a new circle inside of his eye. And this circle is going to be totally white up top here. And I'm going to move that up to the top of his eye. I'm going to go over again, and I'm going to do linear gradient. Grab the gradient tool, and I want the top to be light, and the bottom is actually transparent, like it's not even there. So I'm going to push that up a little bit, and what we end up getting is sort of like a half circle of white. But when you really step back and look at it, it looks like the glare from a light shining in his eyes. I'm going to go ahead and make his eye a little bit lighter. Or make his face a little bit darker. There we go. That's starting to look the way I like it. I'm going to do the same thing for his other eye. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to click and make a white circle. And I actually might move his other eyeball down here. I'm going to get this the way I want it, and I'm going to make it a gradient so that it's white up top and it's transparent at the bottom. And I move this up a little bit. The more I move it up, the more the transparent comes up, and when it's transparent, we get the dark gray that's underneath. So I get something like that. Zoom out, and already I think he's beginning to look better and more real. I'm going to do the same thing for almost all of the shapes for Tux, including his face. So let's click there, linear gradient, gradient tool, and I like it generally with the lighter on top, darker on the bottom. And it really is up to you how heavy to shade these, but already when I'm done with that, you can see he's beginning to look a lot more like the finished product. He looks a lot more three-dimensional, like he's actually popping out of the screen. So I'm going to leave you to do that. I'm going to do his outer stomach too, just a little bit. Like that. For his flipper, I'm going to come in, take my Bezier curve tool, and I'm going to draw another triangle inside of that one. I'm going to make it white, and I'm going to use a linear gradient. Just to get a little shine, like the light we're reflecting off of his flipper. Okay? You can do the same thing for the other side, and the same thing for his beak. I would draw another triangle inside of the beak and use the gradient tool. Which brings me to the foot, which is the most complicated. What I'm going to do is click on his foot, and I'm actually going to use not the linear gradient tool, I'm going to use the radial gradient tool. And I click that. And what you see is a radial gradient has one color on the inside and another color on the outside. Now for all of our colors so far, we've had a color and then we've had sort of transparent on the outside. We're going to change that up this time. This time I'm going to go to Edit. And I want the top color to be yellow. And the bottom color, instead of being transparent, I want it to be orange, but I have to take my slider down here and go from transparent over to orange. And so what I get is a gradient that has yellow on the inside and orange on the outside. And then I can grab my gradient tool. This one looks a little bit different. I can control how much yellow I get with these two handles. Oops. And I can change where that yellow starts and ends by dragging the middle. So I'll put the yellow over here. I'll put it over here. And I'll do the same thing I did before. I'm going to draw a white circle. And I'm going to give it a linear gradient that goes from white at the top to transparent at the bottom, just to get a nice little shine on top of his foot. Okay, there's his foot. And like I told you before, I'm going to drag and highlight his entire foot. I'm going to press Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Oops, that didn't work. Copy, paste. I get another foot. This one I'm going to turn around. No, I won't do that, because then the glare's on the wrong side. So he's got 2 feet, and I'll leave you to do the rest, but you can tell already he's beginning to look a lot more realistic. So use your gradients wisely, and good job.